world of wizards here. But, however, I am in what is called a hotel, and apparently they have very bad reception. So, if it gets choppy, there's not too much I can do. Again, the Continuum has made sure that my hands are tied as well as gloved. So, therefore, I can't even affect hotel Wi-Fi. It's really a shame. So the director is moving stuff around. Humans. So I'm hoping that this signal is coming through well enough, because I just did watch the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, episode 8, If Memory Serves. I'm not just saying that, that's actually the name of the episode. And they went back to Talos IV. Now, as I travel through timelines all the time, I had gotten a little mixed up last week and determined and incorrectly thought that Talos IV had yet to happen for Christopher Pike, but it had happened. So Spock was aware of it. And I do appreciate the fact that they showed the cage at the beginning of the episode. That was a nice nod back. And I have to say, Anson Mount Pike is awesome. I am looking forward to meeting him soon. Now, the whole Spock sharing his memories, that was fine, and apparently somebody has decided to destroy all sentient life in the universe, or at least, you know, in that universe. And apparently, they consider it sentient life. They're not even close to the Q Continuum's level. But it is quite interesting that they have to change the timeline in order to save the universe from, again, it's Brainiac. Look at the 3 dots in that android's eyes. So it's pretty obvious that she's sending out data, that she is sabotaging things like the spore drive. It's so obvious. And it's obvious Brainiac's behind it. So the return to Talos IV, I thought was well done. I mean, the makeup and prosthetics were a little different. And that's to be expected. I think they did a nice homage to the original. So it wasn't as bad as I thought. The Talosians are a pain in the Continuum's butt. They're not quite on the Continuum's level, but they're enough of a nuisance that, you know, we have to wipe away the cobwebs of their illusions every time we decide to pop in. Not that I've ever popped in to cause them any trouble. Not me. So I found the very interesting defense mechanism of the black hole. That was fun. So I didn't have a lot to complain about for this episode. It was not bad. I mean, they returned to Talos IV. Spock smiled again at the end. That was kind of strange. My main disappointment, I mean, there were some good things in this episode. Pike continues to throw me through. I like his new attitude, letting fights happen. That was wonderful. And it had to happen between Hugh and Tyler. It just had to. That's, if someone killed you, I mean, I've never been dead because I'm Q, but if someone killed you and you came back, you might be a little irritated, so that fight was fun. But my main complaint, and by the way, I called the fact that Hugh might no longer be quite so thrilled with Paul after being reconstructed from scratch. So I called that. But my main complaint, again, is Burnham. This whole secret thing that Burnham did to Spock that was so bad. Was a couple kids talking and her hurting his feelings? Is he that fragile? I mean, every other Vulcan child on the planet called him half-breed, called him freak. And yes, it's his sister that he loves, but how many of you humans were picked on by your sister or your brother, a sibling, a cousin? Really, I was expecting something a little more drastic, like she burnt his Transformers collection or something like that. It just seemed a bit much, because this confrontation happened apparently before the Red Angel showed him where she was and saved her life. And he was so hurt that he still decided to save her life, which was logical. But she came back, apparently, and she never spoke to Spock and said, look, I was just being a dick to you because I didn't want to take you with me. I was trying to keep you safe. I didn't mean any of that shite. But what can you do? So it doesn't look like the stream's doing too well. I don't know if it's because of the quality. Again, I'm in a hotel, so I apologize. I may have to do a follow-up video or something, or just talk about it next week when I'm in my normal environs. But again, if you happen to be in the Cleveland area and you want to meet the Fandom Spotlight crew, they shall be running around like chickens with their heads cut off throughout the convention. So, my verdict on this episode is that it wasn't bad. Spock sounded a lot like Sarek, which is fine. He emoted less than Sarek, which I thought was interesting because he's half human, though at the end he did smile, which was kind of odd. There was this whole thing in the books where Spock supposedly, when he was first on the Enterprise, decided to mimic human emotions without really feeling them to fit in. I guess, Burnham hurt him more than we thought by saying those nasty things. This is not necessarily what is called canon, but what can you do? So I'm not seeing any comments coming up. Does anyone have thoughts? All two of you watching? I guess not. So if you're watching this in replay, I apologize for the choppy quality. That's probably choppy quality. I don't know because, again, punishment detail, I might as well be scrubbing out pots in a kitchen somewhere, according to the Q continuum. I'd rather do that than have to watch Discovery every week, but apparently my sentence is for another, 6 episodes? We'll see if I can get out of this for next season. So the verdict is not bad. Burnham again, a little overdramatic. I'm not quite sure that I like the way that Sonequa plays the character. But overall, not bad. And leave your comments below if you have any thoughts about this episode, what you thought. Spock with a beard, not really loving the beard, but I suppose it disguises the fact that the actor is not Leonard Nimoy. But I have to say, Pike looks like he could have aged from the Cage to Discovery into what he is now. So he's not that different. Nice to see Vina again. So, if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. You can like, you can share, you can go down into the description and do that coffee thing because people like their caffeine. And there's some merchandise that features this dead guy named the Governor and other things that you might like to check out. And apparently if you do a coffee thing, I'm supposed to say your name, or someone will say your name and shout you out, or possibly send you a print. Could be of me. But regardless, my judgment on this episode is complete. If you haven't seen it, if you're going to see it eventually, then wipe all these spoilers from your mind. I might be able to help you by the time that happens because, I might be off probation. And remember, the trial is never over.